Too strong.
Thank you. The committees on water and land and the committee on government operations is on its agenda for Tuesday, March 22nd. It's 3:05, but it's not 3:05 right now. However, we will proceed with our hearing in room 016. This hearing is being streamed live online. We will be taking testimony from folks who are in person or online. In the event we are cut off to technical difficulties, we'll try to resume this broadcast as quickly as possible. Members, shall we proceed then with HB 1432? This is relating to concessions on public property. This increases the maximum term of a concession. It exempts concessions for beach or ocean-related recreational services from sealed bid requirements with certain conditions. We have City and County Department of Enterprise, Jerry Pupilo. Aloha, is that you, Jerry?
Yeah, thank you so much. Aloha to you as well. Like to certainly mahalo to Chairs Inoue, Moriwaki, Vice Chairs Keith Agaran and De La Cruz for allowing me to be here. Short and simple is we certainly stand on our written testimony for Bill 1432. It really helps us as the agency from going from 15 to 25 years. One, to improving our facilities, improving the services via innovative business plans of potential concessionaires, and then also just having those quality businesses in place. It's based on quality, not just the highest bid. And when you have a quality concessionaire that wants to come in and make improvements, it's very important they're able to amortize their capital costs over a longer term. As we all know, there's escalating prices that are involved in a lot of construction and things along those lines. So we really do want to improve the quality overall. It benefits the counties, and again, just appreciate your consideration, and mahalo for the opportunity to be here today. Aloha.
Thank you very much. Pali Kaiko, Beach Boys Club, Tom Cup, are you there on Zoom land? Or I understand he was to be here in person. Sends testimony in opposition. Okay, members, any questions of this measure? Otherwise, shall we proceed then, Chair? All right, let's proceed with HB 1436, House Draft 1, and this is relating to development rights. It expands the authority of the counties to transfer development rights to address areas at risk of sea level rise, coastal erosion, storms, surge, or flooding. Office of Planning, Mary Alice, aloha.
Aloha, Chair and Vice Chairs or Chairs. The Office of Planning supports this measure because it gives counties an option by amending Chapter 46 to pass ordinances that gives them another tool in the toolbox to address the potential damage from climate change, sea level rise, storm surge. We want them to have as many tools as possible to be able to work with property owners that may be experiencing damage. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And members, any questions you may have, please let us know while Mary Alice is still here. We do have support letters that was sent as well on this measure. Any questions on HB 1432, 36, I'm sorry. Having said that, we will then proceed with HB 16782, and this is relating to Special Improvement District. This expands the purpose and rationale for which counties may create special improvement districts to include environmental research, restoration, and maintenance natural resource management, and natural hazard mitigation to improve environmental conditions and provide community benefits. DLNR, Kimberly, is that you?
Yes, Tiger
All
Mills
right.
DLNR. We stand by our testimony. Here for questions.
Okay, thank you. University of Hawaii, Dolan Eversole, aloha.
Aloha, yes, Dolan Eversole representing the University of Hawaii. Thank you, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. We will stand on our written testimony in support. I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, mahalo. Haema, Luke Myers, are you there? Or representative of Haema?
Yes, hello, members of the committee. I'm Adam Weintraub. I'm the communications director for Haima, appearing on behalf of Luke Myers, who had a schedule conflict. I appreciate the opportunity to address the members. We stand on our written testimony, providing comments on House Bill 1672. We do support the bill as long as it does not conflict with the governor's budget priorities. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. We have 3 more support on this measure, and we have 1 opposition and 1 comment. Any questions
I
you'd
do,
like to
Chair.
ask? Yes,
just-
Senator Moriwaki, to who?
To Haima Allen. Hi, aloha.
Aloha.
You mentioned in your testimony that you would want to add a language of hazard mitigation efforts, but when I look at the bill on page 2, it does say one of the purposes is to also look at natural hazard mitigation. So I think that covers it. And would that be sufficient, or are you talking about other language?
It's my understanding that the concern is that there's nothing in the measure as currently written that requires coordination between efforts that an individual district may advance and the larger statewide priorities of hazard mitigation that are set forth in our plans, which we coordinate with the Federal Emergency Management Administration or agency. I believe the administrator's intent in seeking to have some coordination between those plans is so that we can maximize the federal dollars that are coming to the state by making sure that any projects which are advanced through this instrument are already within the framework that we have discussed with FEMA, so that we don't find that a district wants to go forward with a mitigation project and then later on we discover that because it was not part of the statewide mitigation plan that it is not eligible for federal reimbursement. We just want to make sure that we can coordinate that funding and ensure that the state of Hawaii gets as much of that federal assistance as we are entitled to.
Thank you. Could I have Dolan Eversole on? Dolan,
University of Hawaii.
University of Hawaii. Oh,
Yes, I'm here,
hi,
Senator.
hi, aloha. You've been working with the Special Improvement District for some years now, and you heard Haima's concern about the not working with agencies, or the concern about not working with agencies when we're trying to get federal funds. We want to make sure, I guess they're alluding to the Alawai watershed, want to make sure that we're coordinating with the efforts, and also that the definition of hazard mitigation would be in conformance with the federal law, so that we don't usurp any possible funds that we could get from Haima, from FEMA or any other federal agency. Would you be able to say that that is in the Special Improvement District operations, or do we need language in this bill to do so?
Yeah, good question. I'm not sure that as I read it now that it's explicitly clear that it would integrate different federal and state endeavors to integrate hazard mitigation, but I don't see any reason why there couldn't be a simple inclusion of making
There's I think in section 2, I think would be a good place, because we're talking about the counties and their charter and creating this district. And I can understand what Hawai'i is relating to, because as an example, in 2006, we had that major earthquake that damaged pretty much, I think, every island as well. And as chair of GVO at that time, I worked with Hawai'i to develop what FEMA wanted us, because we were in session. Luckily we were, because at that time we were able to give FEMA the exact amount of all the damages in the millions of all the projects that we needed help with the federal funds that FEMA had. So I understand, the communications and comments made by Hawai'i, but I certainly would like to see if we can add a language into the measure. Now, Hawai'i, I'm trying to think if there's a statute number that we could add that's relating, but otherwise we can have SMA kind of develop some language,
So-
maybe Chair.
Yeah, so I would like to propose to both IEMA and WIA, I guess, or UH, the language, if you look at section 2, the purposes of creating the districts include, but not limited to, providing, financing, and coordinating federal, state, and local efforts relating to, and then you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that we include,
Yeah,
federal, state, local into
that should
this.
work.
Is that okay with you?
I don't have any objection to that. That seems logical to
Haima,
me.
would that cover the concern that you have that we not go too much astray of federal
Mhm.
funds?
Right.
I believe it would.
Okay,
Okay, great.
okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Chair would just want to say that on page 2, I think there's a typo that's in the bill. And so on line 3, it says the purpose of the act is to broaden the county's authority to create special improvement districts by expanding the objective of these districts to
Yeah.
include.
Yeah,
So
right.
anyway, there's
One extra.
there's an extra to include.
Yeah.
Just make sure that technical amendments are recognized as well.
Good.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's HB 1672. Any further questions? Okay, members, let's proceed then to HB 2034 relating to the Hawai'i Community Development Authority. And this amends the membership of the Hawai'i Community Development Authority by removing the county council as the nominating authority for the community development district representatives, removing one at-large member, reducing the number of district resident representatives, and making the director of planning and permitting of each county a voting rather than a non-voting member. HCDA, Craig, is that you? Thanks for working hard. We saw you at WEM this morning. You're working overtime, but you know what? We're all working hard, right?
Well, we're all working towards the same purpose, right?
Exactly. Thanks for being around.
Thank you. Good afternoon, chairs Inoue and Moriwaki, vice chairs and members of the committee. Good afternoon, also Senator Revere. We submitted testimony in support of this measure, House Bill 2034 HD2. It changes the nominating authority for the district members from the current structure, from the city council to the Senate president and but it retains the geographic areas from which those district representatives are selected. It also requires that there be one, one resident from the district, and then also one small business owner and officer or director of a nonprofit from, those districts. So we believe that what the intent is appropriate, and we therefore, support the measure. We also note that balancing out, sort of taking the nominating authority from the council to the Senate President and the Speaker of the House is sort of balanced out by now giving the DPP of each county, or the county of where the district is located,
One
voting
seat each,
powers.
yeah?
Yeah,
One
voting
seat
powers.
each.
Yeah,
Oh,
DPP.
okay, and voting powers.
Voting power. In the current structure, DPP of the respective counties are ex officio non-voting members. So it does give them voting powers, the DPP. So that, I think, balances out, that.
Okay, so so what happens with, okay, when we have the district community members, okay, and you only have them and their appointments only when there's a development that occurs within a region that they represent, right? So what happens when the development is all done in a particular district, then they phase out? They don't remain, right?
That's not entirely correct. So we have three, as you know, three community development districts right now: Kaka, Kokalai, Loa,
Right.
and they're appointed. So they're nominated. They would be nominated by the nominating authority,
Right.
and then they're appointed by the community representatives. Would be appointed by the governor for a specific term, and then when they've termed out, then they would go off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not per development because
No.
you still, okay, they still, okay. So this also would apply to, and it seems like we're doing this for Aloha Stadium because we added, you remember we added representatives, but that's different from your Kuleana, right? HCDA, because it's Aloha Stadium's authority. Okay, thank you, members. Any questions? So you're okay with this, with the bill?
Senator Inoue, I'm HCD is okay with these
Okay.
amendments.
All right. Okay, there's, we have communications, two oppositions on this measure. Any further questions of HCDA?
I do, just
Okay,
because,
Senator Moriwaki.
thank you. Hi, Craig.
Hi.
Yeah, just because the opposition has to do with the removal of council member appointees and using the state legislators to appoint rather than council members appointing. Can you address that concern? Because HCDA is unlike other districts. And I think it should be clear that it is a state agency and oversight within state jurisdiction. But can you address that HCDA and its relationship to the community development district?
Sure, Senator Moriwaki, I'd be happy to. I sort of understand where the testimony and opposition comes to. I think whenever you change something from, in this case, from a council, city council nominating authority to the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate, in other words, a state legislative body versus a city one, I think the change is maybe a little bit difficult to accept. But HCDA Hawaii Community Development is a state agency that is administratively under DBED. There has been a lot of investment by the legislature in the districts that HCDA has. So I think it's sort of understandable with the intent of this bill to put the nominating authority or change it to a state body from a city body. That makes sense, and that answers your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I totally agree because you were more on the city side, but now it's a statewide. Okay, any else, anything, any more comments with regards to HB 2034 Members, let's proceed with the last item on the agenda then. HB 2332, House Draft 1, relating to easements. And this allows the granting of easements on public lands to be exempted from formal subdivision process and approval requirements, including requirements for surveying and formalizing easements. DLNR, who's there? Oh, you, Russ,
Yes.
you're gonna take care of this one. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Good afternoon, chairs and vice chairs. Russell Tsuji for DLNR. We submitted testimony in support and provided comments, and we're available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Department of Ag, Morris, are you testifying on behalf of the department today?
Yes.
Aloha.
Aloha, Senators Inoue and Moriwaki and committee members. Yes, the department will stand on its testimony supporting the intent and offering comments. I just want to highlight in our comments that, we do know that there were some concerns about the need for accuracy in private easements. So we would recommend that the application of the loosened standards for these easements apply only to public easements on public lands. We think in those instances, it will facilitate or expedite programs that agencies want to implement and not run the risk of violating private rights. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have testimony from Joanne Williamson. Yes, aloha, come on up. Thank you as well for being patient with us this busy time for getting bills passed or, and we appreciate your patience.
Not at all. Thank you. Thank you for hearing me. I'm Joanne Williamson. I'm a licensed land surveyor. I fully support the intent of the bill, but we feel that there's a opportunity for overreach that would be problematic. And so I am in opposition. So if that overreach by limit could be possibly mitigated by limiting it for transfers, as was mentioned in the intent of the bill for lands going from the LNR to Department of Agriculture, if it was limited to those lands rather than all public lands, because that's a
It
broad
covers
scope.
other areas as well.
And additionally, if the county authority in charge of subdivisions would have to sign off on those exemptions, that would limit the scope of what they foresee. They're in the business of land management also, and that is in line with the intent of what they do.
Okay, so yeah, your input is similar to what Morris from DOA highlighted, that we should just in particular refer to our lands more in the agriculture area is what I'm understanding what you're saying, and not the other lands division under DLNR.
Yes,
Okay.
the original intent was or what they cited was DLNR to Department of Ag, and that we're fully in support of agriculture and making that happen. And we understand there are prohibitive costs.
So if it were two things, one, the transfer, I guess, from land and natural resources to agriculture and vice versa, I guess, and notifying the counties so that they have notice that this is occurring. I think what I'm gathering from this is out of my lane, but is that the cost of subdivision and getting the meets and bounds and whatever you surveyors do that is costly should not be a hindrance to getting lands into ag and vice versa. So those two items, if we said it was for land and natural resources and agriculture, and that we notify the counties, would that meet your objections?
The only little caveat would that they would require the counties would mandatorily, not just notification, but they would allow that exemption for each transfer. So a specific transfer would be exempted by the counties.
Well, we got the DP, yes, DPP from Oahu. Yeah, I don't know. Another thing too is most of the lands, aside from it being, having its approval process by land use commission, they pretty much are self-contained in their own areas of zoning, rezoning, and it covers under their own charters, right?
Not sure what you mean, sorry.
Yeah, because I believe
It's on their property.
it's their privilege of their approval process in approving developments and the easements that happens, because they're the ones that hire you folks anyway, right? Or the developer.
We're
You're both.
anybody, yeah, private, public. But for Department of Planning and Permitting, in our case, Oahu will be the one that allows the exemption from their processes.
Yeah. But, and that's your privilege, right?
That would be, I'm not sure.
The city?
Yeah, they, anything that needs to go to the city could be exempted from that process with their, but it mandatorily would have to be exempted, as opposed to the way we read the bill, or the way I read the bill, was that it was sort of a courtesy notification,
Okay.
and that usually doesn't work.
So,
Okay, we have, if you can, have a seat in case we come back to you and we have a question, because we're, Curtis Lam from DPP of, I would assume it's Department of Planning on City. Are you on Zoom, Curtis? We'd like to ask you a question or share comments. And I guess he just, we have an opposition as well from your Hawai'i Land Surveyors Association. Is that the same group you're a member of?
I'm a member of it, but I'll testify on behalf of myself.
Oh, okay, because my comments also is in opposition to this measure as well, unless there's an amendment made, yeah. Okay, all right. Any questions, members? Yes, Senator
Could you please
Revere.
come back up? Thanks. I wanted to,
Thanks, Joanne.
and thanks for helping us understand the distinction here. So what I understood from you was if it was just the DLNR to DOA transfers, that part, there's no objection. And I think that's universally understood. I also understood from the Department of Planning and Permitting's testimony on today that the current draft, the HD1, does refer just to public lands. And so DPP's position now is like, okay, good enough. But I heard in your testimony, there is a concern yet. If we say all public lands,
Yes.
could you just tell us why the distinction? Why would DLNR to DOA be okay, but say, I don't know, airports to
Exactly. Yeah.
something else? Why would that not be in a similar vein as the one you're okay with?
I'm not an expert on legislation, but it seems when you say all public lands, if the state cap, okay, totally extravagant, but the state capital piece of property, this block,
Let's say we want to give it
was
to the city for
transferred.
some reason.
yes,
Um,
that's public to public in my understanding. And that would not be okay to exempt that clearly from any requirements needed for
Well, the
easement.
it's for the, I think this is meant to be for easements. Was it
Subdivisions
not?
and easement, or
Specific to
easements,
easements, not necessarily
exemption
subdivision or
yeah. Right,
restructuring.
easements in this county are subdivision. They are. They need to go through the subdivision process.
Yes. Well, to formalize easements, right?
Yeah.
But if easements are existed or implied or historical, and it's from one state agency to another state agent, let's say state to state,
Uh-huh.
do we need to worry about, doing all the surveying and that to finalize the easements, or can we just
I'd
squint
like to
and
give
say
the
it's good?
DPP authority to say, or the responsibility to say, this does not need them to step in. I mean,
Okay.
they have plenty of work. I don't think they're gonna wanna
No,
overdo
But
it.
I just think in their testimony, it seemed like they were satisfied with the
Yes.
wordsmithing of the house draft.
Okay.
At least that was their testimony, that they're okay.
As
with that.
surveyors, we might have a little different opinion, and we don't have internet here, so I don't have
Okay.
that in front of me.
Okay,
But,
thank you. That's, I just wanted to tell you to that.
Yeah,
Thanks, sir.
to follow up as well, your counterparts, your colleagues, Meyer comments, has some suggested language. Can I read it and see if
Sure,
it's
please.
okay, it's appropriate? Limiting the exemption of easements granted over public lands from formal county subdivision process to those affecting the transfer of undeveloped public lands between DLNR and DOA pursuant to Act 90. And then also the county agency responsible for subdivision compliance must be notified anytime a government agency grants an easement over undeveloped public lands and exercise the exemption option of such an easement from county subdivision requirements.
yes,
You would kind of support that language as well.
I would have one addition, but it's not in writing, is that they authorize the exemption. The DPP,
county
the
agency.
county.
That the county have a
agency
look
authorized.
and say, okay, that
Yeah.
meets our
Yeah.
reasons for exemption. Then at least they've had a look.
Yeah,
Right.
then looks see, maybe something is that the state to state agency, I mean, they're trying to have best land management practices, and I get that, we support that, but
Can we also have, I see Russell trying to speak, so Russell.
Russell's a-
Can
if
you
you're-
tell us between land and natural, and then Morris was on as well, what is the process on this easements? And whether we
Yeah.
should put in language and how we should put it in on the county oversight of what
Right.
you, between the two of you.
I'll express what I know and what I've been told. I understand the city and county of Honolulu is, I think, the only county right now that is requiring the subdivision process for access easements. You know, a lot of these easements are access or utility lines. And I think this bill kind of came out of the Act 90 working group, and it was trying to assist in cases where it's public land to public land landlord granting an easement or something. Yeah. So I think that language you folks will have in the house, the draft is okay. The one I was a little concerned about was I heard about undeveloped, and I thought, hey, you know, I'm not so sure if, you know, that might apply, you know, that would exclude possibly all of the existing leases, because you have a farmer on the ground already, and they're developing arguably the land. So I'm not so sure you want to put in undeveloped, yeah, as you know, because undeveloped normally is just vacant land. That's my comments on the amendments or the draft version that you guys are discussing. Did you have a specific question, Senator? I'm sorry.
So what Joanne is saying is that the county should authorize, once you agree between,
Yeah.
let's just say that we change this bill so that it's just the easement rights without going through subdivision of DLNR and Department of Ag. The second part of this is to give notice to the county affected.
Right.
But Joanne is saying, you know, maybe we should have the county authorize that, okay, you guys can do the trade or do this, whatever, you can transfer the property. Is that something that is acceptable and something that wouldn't hinder the process? Because this whole idea was to get around a long process
Right.
for transfer of
Well,
land.
I think my preliminary, it sounds like it's a little easier than the existing process, that's for sure. But I'm not sure how, you know, if this process of authorization, if that's almost the equivalent of approving an easement, kind of thing. So I don't know what the speaker had in mind, but and what the counties actually go through when they approve an easement. I know it does take a little time, and sometimes because
Approval within
oftentimes
30
too,
days.
like I'll give you an example where we needed to reserve an easement in a not so much a land transfer, it was a government to government executive order from DLNR to public safety, where we, in order to expedite the easement, we actually had staff just they do a lot of the pinpoints and stuff, and they had some expertise. They're not licensed surveyors though, and that's one way we
It's
were able
another
to expedite.
cost.
Yeah, so just
So is Morris on Department of Agriculture?
Can I ask a question first
yeah, sure.
for Russell, since Russ, so this bill, it pretty much covers the Act 90. And so
that was the intent, yeah.
I know, but now we're talking about the Act 90 and the transfer just particularly remain with DLNR DOA, but now we're talking about the county agency. So it's kind of confusing because we're referring to Act 90, but then we're getting into the county agencies for their compliance has nothing to do with Act 90.
Yeah, it's just that right now, the county in Honolulu in particular, if you were to reserve an easement on Oahu, it has to go through the county approval process right now.
Yeah. It's their Kuleana. And then what I was gonna add is, Chair Moriwaki, is that we have a measure before us, and it's HB 1658 on Act 90. And easily we can just put that language because it pertains to Act 90 into that measure that we'll be taking up tomorrow. And so
But I'm not sure that this.
so do we need to say the county agency? It's kind of confusing. If I look at the bill, because it's supposed to be Act 90, DLNR, DOA. And then now we're telling the counties, do this and whatever, but I don't see the nexus. So I'm just kind of, just for discussional purposes.
DPP doesn't seem to have an objection anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So maybe
So
we're
we just go
overthinking it.
with the language without authorizing, they have to approve it. Just go with the language that it's between DLNR and DOA.
Yeah, and like Mark Meyer comments on the county agency side, we won't add that to the amendments and just stick with.
Just the DOA and.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Sure.
I was wondering if DLNR to DOA would be adequate. I mean, do you need more agencies involved? And by undeveloped, I don't, I'm not really familiar with the exact term, but I do see what you mean.
To answer that question, yes, but I think the reason this bill came out of the Act 90 working group. So, but it's broader. Yes, it is broader, and whether this committee wants to narrow it, but yes, it would help if it was other agencies, because we do that all the time too with other state or county agencies as well with the set-asides.
But in this case, Russell, since it came out of Act 90, seems to me you keep it simple between DOA and DLNR, and then you get experience in whether you notify or authorize or whatever, but at least go with the notification right now, so it's not too difficult to do, and then maybe come back next year after some experience with it to expand it.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
All
yes.
Would that process be something that would be developed then with the county? Would that process for exemption?
Not
something that
not now.
Not right now.
Not with this bill. Yeah, it seems like we'll be amending it. Yeah, so my recommendation, we can do one of two things. We can, since we have a bill tomorrow on Act 90, just defer this bill and put that language into the Act 90 bill, or we keep this bill and we just do it. Yeah, but we could defer this and then we can put it in the other measure, or just do the Act 90 and no reference to counties.
You can try to do.
Yeah, we can do both. Yeah. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And now I know that we did have a discussion like this either last year or previously. And, but anyway, that was,
Which one was that?
yeah, but the bill died because you guys gave such a good testimony. But anyway, so, and I enjoy the, your, what you all do in different phases because, we don't know everything, right? So we need you guys, to come and
So we
support.
can opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's-
Okay.
That's what we do. So thank
Thanks
you
so
very
much
Thank
for
you. Thank you,
coming.
Sharon.
I appreciate you being here so we can continue further discussions.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
so this measure, we had 5 in support, 3 opposed, and 2 with some comments. Okay, I think that's the end of the agenda for the joint committees on water and land. And IT, we're going to go into recess for decision-making, please. Thank you. The Joint Committees on Water and Land and Government Operations is going into decision-making on this, on its agenda of March 22nd. Members, from the first item on HB 1432, House Draft 1, this is relating to the development rights. Chair's recommendation is that we pass this with amendments. We'll adopt OPSD's proposed amendments and we'll perfect the effective date to July 1st, 2022. Oh, wait, am I? Wait, sorry. I'm ahead of my time. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry, folks. Oh, we could have done this, but that's all right. Chair is correcting herself. HB 1432, House Draft 1, relating to concessions on public property. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, just perfecting the effective date to July 1st, 2022. Any discussions? Hearing none, Waterland, Senator Misalucha for the vote with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Committee on Water and Land. Members, we are voting on HB 1432 HD1. Chair recommends pass with amendment. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Agaran is excused. Senator Misalucha votes aye. Senator Revere.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused. Chair, your recommendations is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Committee on GVO.
Committee on GVO, the chair votes, same recommendation, chair votes aye, Vice Chair Dela Cruz.
In House Bill 1432, HD1, recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Chan.
Aye.
Senator Gabbard.
Aye.
Senator Favela, excused. Recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you. HB 1436, House Draft 1, relating to development rights. Chair's recommendation is to pass with these amendments, adopting OPSD's proposed amendments and perfecting the effective date to July 1st, 2022. Any discussions? Okay, hearing none. Senator Misalucha for the vote on HB 1436. Chair goes aye.
This is in reference to HB 1436 HD1. Chair recommends pass with amendments with 3 members present, 2 excused. Are there any no votes? Are there any reservations? Chair, hearing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Same recommendation for Government Operations Committee on HB 1436, chair votes aye, Vice Chair Dela Cruz.
Okay, with 4 members present, 1 excused. Any objections, any reservations, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you. HB 1672, House Draft 1, relating to special improvement districts. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. We'll be perfecting the effective date to July 1st, 2022. We'll adopt technical non-substantive amendments, and we're going to add language to section 2 in our discussions with HIEMA, and that would be on line 13. That's, what page is that? Page 2. Page 2, yeah. Page 2. I think it's page 2.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're adding, providing financing and coordinating federal, state, county efforts to, and it continues on to line 15. Any discussions? Hearing none. Waterland, chair goes aye.
On HB 1672 HD1, Chair recommends pass with amendments for 3 members present, 2 excused. Are there any reservations? Any nays? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Government Operations Committee, same recommendation. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Delacruz.
With 4 members present, 1 excused. Any reservations? Any objections? Recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you. HB 2034, House Draft 2, relating to HCDA. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, just perfecting the date to July 1st, 2022. Any discussions? Hearing none. Water and Land for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Chair votes aye on HB 2034 HD2. Were all 3 members present? And 2 excused. Any opposition? Any reservations? Hearing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Government Operations Committee, same recommendation on HB 2034, House Draft 2. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Delacruz.
Okay, with 4 members present, 1 excused. Any reservations, objections? Recommendation adopted.
Can we change it? Yeah, but it's okay, right? Okay. Last but not least, HB 2332, House Draft 1, relating to easements. Chair's recommendation is that with this measure, both committees is just recommending that we stick with Act 90 as well. So we'll be adopting Meyer comments with the what do they call them now? The surveyors group, his recommendation that we limit the exemption of easements, and this will be part of the amendments, limiting the exemption of easements granted over public lands from formal county subdivision process to those affecting the transfer of undeveloped public lands between DLNR and DOA pursuant to Act 90. Okay, any discussions? Hearing none. Yes, DLNR, water land for the votes. Chair goes aye.
Chair votes aye on HB 2332 HD1. Chair recommends pass with amendments. All 3 members present, 2 excused. Are there any reservations? Any nays? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Same recommendation for Government Operations Committee. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Delacruz.
Okay, 4 members present, 1 excused. Any reservations? Objections? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. This concludes the Joint Committee on Water and Land and Government Operations. Thank you, folks.
Yeah.